Florida Rugby is headquartered, USA Rugby that is, the Olympic Committee's national governing body of the sport, in Boulder, Colorado. Rugby's been real popular in Colorado for years and years and years, but here in Polk County, rugby has taken off, and we have some real talent here. And you know, if you take a look at rugby, there's a lot of big concentration on the east side of the coast of the United States, California as well, some of the western states. But right here in Polk, we have a special guest joining us, Tyler Hilgers. And I said, now if you're German, you're going to say it one way. If you're just like regular commoner like me, you're going to say it another way.
Yep, that's good. Tyler Hilgers.
Okay.
It goes both ways, yes, sir.
All right. Well, Tyler, thanks for joining us. And you know, I've always enjoyed watching rugby. You know, takes leather balls to play rugby. That's what the theme was out in Aspen, Colorado when I lived out there. And then this was back in the 70s, late 70s. You know, rugby was really popular. But it's popular here now in Polk, and you're part of a big initiative here, the Lancers Rugby Club. Tell us a little bit about the club itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Lancers, we started back in 2017, so it's just been a few years now, but it's grown tremendously. And really, Florida Rugby, I played since I was 13 back in Daytona Beach, and that's exploded. There were guys that I grew up playing with that play internationally. They play for Team USA, and Florida's definitely done a great job in promoting an environment of fierce competition, and then at the club level, which is what the Lancers play, awesome community too. So some of my best friends now at Lakeland, especially since graduating college, have been from this rugby team. A lot of the stuff I get to do outside of just my day-to-day of work is charity with the team. It's hanging out like tonight. We're going to go out to Keel and Curly and hang out over there in Plant City and just hang out. You know, just a bunch of guys that we like to work out, we like to hit each other. We also like to have a good time, and we like to.
Wait a minute, we got to back up here on me now. I just like, so Keel and Curly is sort of a wine type place, right? And so we got rugby players at a winery.
Sure. Yeah, it's really incredible. The diversity of guys that we get on our team and that rugby attracts is just, I think it's one of the coolest parts of the sport, because like football, it's fiercely competitive, and you know, it definitely takes an edge, and I think you can start anywhere, but you're going to get some bruises, you're going to get some bumps after each game. But yeah, I mean, certainly we've got a lot of guys that I go to church with. We've got guys that, you know, are serving every day at non-for-profits. We've got guys that, you know, are a little bit mean, you know, and they're in the gym every day.
It's the sport of rugby.
That's right. It's anybody and everybody.
Awesome. Speaking of your club, I know you talked about you were there when it started in 2017. What have you guys progressed to? I know when you started, obviously you had, you know, just a few guys who wanted to get the club together and get going. What has it grown into now in number of players, and then also continuing growing? What do you foresee you guys continuing your continued growth to evolve into, and then also to play onto that, anybody who wants to get involved, how can they get involved?
Absolutely. So anyone is always welcome. We get a lot of our recruits through just Facebook, through Instagram. So looking up the Lakeland Lancers Club, Rugby Football Club, you can find us on any social media. We have a website. That's where we get a lot of guys, and then really just word of mouth. So I've had probably 5 or 6 friends join the team the last 2 years now, and those are 5 or 6 new players that they're some of our best players now. A lot of them were previous athletes, but some of them have no athletic experience. So guys that haven't played a sport since elementary school coming out, trying it for the first time, now being a year or 2 in and being one of our best players, just because they've been dedicated, fell in love with the sport, learned quickly. So that's just a little bit of, you know, how we've gained guys. But we started with, I think it was 4 players before I was even on the team. It was this guy Mixon, and then shortly after him, this guy Doc, JD, a couple of guys that just got together, grew the game to 10, 15 in the first year. And since then, you know, we've had anywhere from 50 to 60 guys in a year. But consistently at you know, we'll do 2 practices a week. We'll have about 20 to 30 guys on a Tuesday or Thursday. Some days are lighter, you know, if it's the off season, which is what we're in right now. But it really starts to ramp up since you play with 15. So you really do need a good amount of guys to be a competitive club.
In the Olympics, rugby was, I don't think full squad. Wasn't it 7 on 7?
Sevens. Yes, sir.
You know, so you had the 7s in the Olympics, which is, you know, just be included in the Summer Olympic Games is huge. Divisions, you know, you look in, and I'm obviously thinking about the elite, but you know, you guys are up there too. If you're playing a club sport of rugby, you know, you can't be a hack.
Sure.
but you can get involved.
Yeah.
A lot of the growth in any sport comes from youth, and
Yeah.
then they work their way up like you did in Daytona,
Yep.
and so on. What type of offerings do you guys have or foresee having in the future when it comes to either older guys like me or younger kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. I mean, the best clubs in the state of Florida, Tampa, Miami, Daytona's up there as well. Some of those clubs are clubs that have had youth programs for years and years and years. So that's definitely a dream of ours, is to field a youth team. For the meantime, we've actually come to Bartow and done a couple different youth opportunities. So we've gone to local schools during their PE, taught the game of rugby, just hung out, volunteered our time on a lunch, and being able to spend time with kids. And right now, practicing between, whether it's at Southwest Middle School, at Dobbins Park, we have a couple different locations that we switch between in central Lakeland. But we've had, 10 kids at a practice one time just show up that are there at the park and they want to play. So we'll say, okay, well, we're here for 2 hours, so let's spend 30 minutes, playing with these kids, teaching them the game, and then, hey, we've got to tackle, so you can't do this, right?
Yeah.
So it's growing slowly but surely, and I think within the next couple of years, we'd love to have that, because that is a great staple of definitely developing the community and also the game in Lakeland too.
Yeah. Speaking on the community, you initially, when we went there, you talked about how you guys were involved in the community, how there was more than just rugby games and that's it. You guys do different things throughout the community and a community impact. Speak, briefly on some of the things you guys do within the community and the community impact you guys have here in Polk County.
Yeah, so within the community, we've done an incredible amount of things this last year. Really during COVID, actually, we took a small number of teammates and we went to a house in Lakeland, and we helped to build a house with Habitat for Humanity. Just recently, we partnered with Socom Elementary School, and we actually sponsored a new garden there. And then one of the big things that we're looking to start now is actually the Aiken Foundation. One of our longtime members, Chuck Aiken, is actually battling cancer right now, and awesome guy. It was one of the guys that has really poured into my life as I joined the club, and he's played for, I think, 40 years back in Greenville and all across the U.S. And so he's battling that now, and that's a foundation that we want to get started. That way we can develop, some funding to put towards whether it's cancer efforts or just charity within the city of Lakeland. So those are some of the things we do, and then of course, just day to day, we'll do small things here and there. We've done Toys for Tots and raised a couple $1,000s through donations at different scrimmage games that we'll host, and we say, hey, if you're bringing a friend, have them bring a toy with them. And so doing things like that during the Christmas time season, we can donate $2,000 of toys to the city of Lakeland and children that need it that Christmas season.
Let's jump back real quick. For a lot of folks aren't familiar with rugby. Tell us a little bit about the scoring. How do you score points, and how does all that work?
Yeah, that's the game. So you score 5 points for a touchdown, and it really is a touchdown. So in rugby, you have to touch it down, or it's not a try, which is really what the score is called. And so you touch it down within the end zone, that's your 5 points, and then wherever you do score from, you take it back from 5 to 15 meters, wherever that was. So if you're all the way on the right of the field, 30 meters right of the goalpost, you've got to bring it back 5 to 15 meters, and then that 30 meters right or left wherever you scored. So it makes good sense to score it as central as you can. So if you're watching on TV, if you watch the pros, whenever they get a breakaway, they're not scoring on the outside, they're going to the middle of the score. It's going to make that kick easy. And then some games will come down to that 2-point kick. So unlike football, it's going to be a 2-point kick. Kicks are weighted a little bit more importantly than American football, which is just the 6+1. And then of course a field goal is 3. Rugby actually similarly is 3 for a drop kick field goal as well. And so if you've got a penalty, you can drop kick, you can place kick, and kick for 3. But if it's a score and then a kick after, it'll be 5 plus 2.
Got the math straightened out there, Gerald?
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
In regards to, that point in regards to kicking and how important it is, that's everybody. Whoever scores is kicking. So it's not like American football where, you got a guy who's dedicated kicking and that's all he does. You got to, top to bottom, if you're on the team, you better know how to kick, right?
Absolutely. I think that's actually one of my favorite parts about rugby is every player is learning every element. So you can't get away just being big. You have to know how to tackle. You have to know how to run. Sometimes you might even have to kick. We do have a guy that's one of our better kickers. His name's Jack, and he's from overseas, so he's got this wicked accent, and you can tell he grew up playing the sport. And for him, it comes naturally. For me, not so much, but he didn't play in a few games last year, so I had to just stay, 30 minutes extra after practice and learn. In the case he wouldn't be there, somebody had to kick. So even a guy as big as me is sometimes taking those kick afters, and yeah, big or small, guys are learning every part of the field. Yeah.
Structure here in Florida, we just got a couple of seconds left, but you have Olympic governing body or in Boulder, and then you have state federations, and then now down to the local clubs and so on and so forth. How is that? Does that pretty accurately sum up the way the organizational structure is for the sport of rugby?
Yeah, that's right. So there's USA Rugby, and then it goes through to, there's actually Major League Rugby now, which has really gotten big and offering a lot of professional contracts in the U.S., and then Florida Rugby, which is going to be different club levels, collegiate levels. Mm-hmm. They compete with one another. So we'll play some of the best teams. We'll play some of the developing teams, and there are teams all over the place. There are masters clubs, which are older gentlemen, women's teams, high school teams, all in the state of Florida. So there really is a lot of diversity just within the state of Florida.
Yeah, that sounds great. I've always loved rugby, but I've never played rugby. And so, at 45 like I am, there's still hope, right?
Absolutely, right.